here today. I'm Prisha. I'm the acting United States Attorney for the Northern District of Texas. I'm proud to be here in participation with the Dallas Police Department, the ATF, the Texas DPS, and the FBI. Together, we're here today to announce Operation Pegasus, our latest effort to stem the tide of gun violence in Dallas. Our approach has been deliberate and decisive, and it's starting to yield real results. This summer, the Justice Department launched a new violent crime initiative, and our emphasis there was strategic enforcement. I know every agency here, mine included, has very limited resources, which is why it's essential for us to concentrate those resources on situations where they can have the greatest impact. With that in mind, Operation Pegasus leveraged data from the NIBIN system to create what we call geographic heat maps. Basically, we plotted every shooting and illegal weapon recovery over the past 4 months, and when we did so, one area in Dallas stood out: Pleasant Grove in southeast Dallas. So we conducted this analysis for one reason, so that we could focus our resources on arresting the people who are injecting weapons and drugs into our communities, the ones who are fueling violence. It was the data that led us to Pleasant Grove. And we know that felons who commit crimes with guns are not just more dangerous today, but they're actually more dangerous later in life compared to those who commit crimes without guns. When the United States Sentencing Commission conducted a study on this issue, they found that firearm offenders are roughly 50% more likely to revert to criminal behavior than non-firearm offenders. They're also more likely to commit serious crimes like assault even without firearms. That's why we're committed to stopping armed criminals before they can wreak real havoc on our streets. And that's what we did here with Operation Pegasus. The efforts of the ATF, DPS, DPD, and FBI on the ground here in Pleasant Grove have resulted in a number of significant federal prosecutions. Now, my partners over here are going to discuss some of the details and some of the numbers, but I do want to highlight a couple of these cases just to give you a flavor of what we're talking about. One recent joint bust resulted in the seizure of 14 firearms, most of them loaded, bulk quantities of cocaine that were being dealt, and more than $1.5 million in cash. Agents located one of the defendants in this case cowering in an attic. Another recent undercover operation located several armed drug traffickers who were dealing cocaine and meth outside of a local strip mall. Agents were able to track their online activity and find that these men also advertised the sale of fully automatic firearms as well as ghost guns. So I'm grateful to be here today. I'm grateful to the law enforcement leaders standing here with me. And I can tell you that these 3 men, they're unwavering in their commitment to serving the city of Dallas. And we all want the residents of Southeast Dallas to know that we're here for you and that we will not rest until your neighborhoods are safe places to live and to work. So I'll turn the podium over to Chief Garcia now.
Thank you. Good afternoon. I want to start by thanking our partners for supporting us here today. As U.S. Attorney Shaw's told you, a bit of why Operation Pegasus came about. When our agency was approached earlier this year by the ATF regarding a partnership operation to reduce firearm violence, we were all in. I was all in. This department was all in. This year, the Dallas Police Department implemented its own violent crime reduction plan, which is very similar to the concepts of Operation Pegasus. The collecting and mapping of data from NIBIN and the NIBIN Enforcement Support System, along with information from the Dallas Crime Gun Intelligence Center, is what the Dallas Violent Crime Reduction Plan calls hotspot policing. The southeast Dallas Pleasant Grove area has experienced a high concentration of violent crime. Therefore, narrowing in on this area makes most impact in the short 90-day operational period. Now, we know that it's few individuals that cause a majority of the crime. And in order for the vast majority of our residents that live in Pleasant Grove, that live in fear, to live their lives without these criminals is very, very important. Let me quickly address a couple of examples of how Operation Pegasus was implemented. ATF received a tip regarding possible criminal activity involving Mario Mercado III, Jorge Ponce, and Roman Martinez. Through their social media accounts, these suspects referenced selling machine gun conversion devices, ghost frames, and narcotics. Using undercover officers and confidential informants, detectives developed probable cause to arrest Mercado, Ponce, and Martinez for selling firearms, such as an AR-style pistol and rifles. 56 grams of methamphetamine was also recovered. Mercado, Ponce, and Martinez have been removed from the streets of Southeast Dallas. Let me share another example of the great work done by our combined efforts. A confidential informant contacted an individual named Ken, whom we later identified as Kendall Johnson. This contact was made on a website that allows users to buy, sell, and chat with others regarding firearm sales. The confidential informant informed Ken that they were looking for specific firearms and received a message from him offering to sell a fully automatic Glock for $1,500. Ken believed the firearms were being trafficked to Mexico and agreed to sell any other firearms to undercover officers and said that he would acquire various assault rifles as well as narcotics. Thanks to the hard work of our officers, Kendall Johnson is now in custody and no longer selling firearms and narcotics. Removing the criminal element from the streets who have no regard for the law and for the other law-abiding residents of Pleasant Grove and Southeast Dallas is why we work around the clock for the residents of this city. The communication between all agencies involved has allowed the short 90-day operation to be a success. As U.S. Attorney Shaw stated, our approach was deliberate, decisive, specific, focused, and yielded results. I've said this before, that we will bring every tool to bear to keep our streets safe from violence. The collaboration that I've seen with our state and federal partners is the best that I have experienced in nearly 30 years of law enforcement in 2 different cities and in 2 different states. I can't thank them enough. And with that, I will turn it over to Department of Public Safety Major Vince Luciano.
Good morning. I'm Vince Luciano with the Texas Department of Public Safety. First, I'd like to thank Dallas Police Department and the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, as well as our other federal partners, for including us in this operation and the collaborative effort to reduce violent crime in the city of Dallas. Our mission at the Texas Department of Public Safety is to protect and serve Texas. As a part of that, doesn't matter we're on the border, combating transnational gangs, influx of drugs, here in Dallas, civil unrest, or major disasters, or the scourge of local gangs and drug and gang violence. Last November, Governor Abbott issued a directive to DPS to assist with the violent crime in the city of Dallas. To that end, DPS special agents, rangers, and troopers worked in a collaborative effort with, on this operation, ATF and Dallas PD to reduce those things. We want to thank all the people that were involved, and it's commendable the level of cooperation between all the different agencies and especially our prosecutors to make that possible. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody. Jeff Boschek with ATF. I'm glad I'm friends with the major here because it's kind of intimidating standing up on stage next to that large human being. So we've talked a bunch in the last few months about our partnerships here between ATF and our state and local partners, whether it be the Dallas Police Department, the FBI, Fort Worth Police Department, Arlington Police Department. We are committed, ATF is committed to stopping the violent trend across America, especially here in North Texas. This operation, Operation Pegasus, is unlike any going on across the United States right now. We've talked about why we were down there and how we were down there. I want to share what we got. That's what you guys are interested in, right? What did we do down there? 47 federal defendants in 90 days. That's almost unheard of across the country. It's hard to get that many federal defendants at any time. I thank our U.S. Attorney for having the gall to go after these people wholeheartedly and really being a true partner to stop violent crime in the Dallas area. Over 90 days, we did over 117 undercover operations. Those are significant operations where we place ATF and FBI, DPS employees undercover, going after the worst of the worst in the worst part of town based upon the data that we have received. That's impressive. 117 undercover operations in less than 90 days, because some of our guys don't work weekends. That included undercovers from all the agencies up here. Over 100 firearms were seized or purchased. That's a lot. That's 100 firearms from a small area in South Dallas in 90 days. 100 firearms that aren't out there on the streets to fall in the hands of violent criminals, children, ending up on schoolyards. That is significantly important in a small area to take 100 guns off the street in 90 days. A lot of drugs. We already mentioned some of the quantities, but what's big too is $1.8 million in cash. Now, maybe some of our partners and some of our white collar stuff has seen that amount of cash in operations or on the border with narcotics trafficking. Our partner from DEA couldn't be here today, but that's a significant amount of cash. $1.8 million in a house in Southeast Dallas, and to be quite honest with you, we did not expect it. So there's more out there, and we're going to find it. When we hit that door, we had no idea that there was going to be that much cash and currency, and you can see in the pictures, it was in trash bags, y'all. I mean, this was something like off TV, really. We didn't know it was going to be there, so that's a significant hit to the narcotics trafficking and the armed narcotics traffickers affecting our streets down there. You know, if you live in the Keystone Polk neighborhood, we talk about what effect does it have, right? What effect does ATF and our partners' operations, other than putting some people in jail? I want you guys to ask the neighbors in the Keystone Polk area, because they'll tell you, hopefully in a few months here, the effect that this operation had, because it took really, really bad people, and they're going to go to federal prison for a long time. That's the effect that this has. You know, we talk at length about the partnerships, and you guys are probably sick of hearing about how great it is here in North Texas, but it's true. And I can tell you that we've always worked together well with the Dallas Police Department, the FBI, and the DEA, and the DPS. We've always had a good working relationship. But I got to thank Chief Garcia, really, because at the end of this operation, because I got to tell you, this guy, he's the Energizer Bunny, right? I've been here for a while now, right? And he is the pit bull of policing. And I don't mean the dog, I mean the entertainer. This guy, like, he is, I thought of it this morning because it's true, right? You want to think of something good to say about you, Chief. He has re-energized me. He has re-energized his federal partners, I think, to re-engage. We never disengage, but to significantly re-engage with the police department to have a true effect on violent crime here in Dallas. So I thank you for bringing that energy, because every time we have a meeting with you, you leave there pumped up. If you don't, there's something wrong with you. So thank you. I don't have anything else. I just want to thank the partners. You know, obviously, it was the agencies working together that had this effect, but 47 federal defendants and more to come. We just can't talk about them now. We still have some undercover stuff going on, but we felt this was a good point to go in correlation with the chief's crime plan and the city's crime plan to kind of bring this to a conclusion. One quick story I will share about last week, and we talk about the weeding and the seeding in our Dallas communities. I saw a glimpse of hope on the seeding part last week. We executed warrants down in Southeast Dallas last week through the Dallas SWAT team helping us executed 2 simultaneous warrants down there, and we arrested one of the people we were looking for. Literally less than an hour after the SWAT team left, one of our agents got a call from a community member that said, hey, they're already back in this place selling drugs again. This is an hour later. So DPD, we requested DPD to go back down there and made 2 more arrests. They eventually board this apartment up. 4 hours later, it's been boarded up. 4 hours later, they had ripped the boards down and were selling drugs again out of this apartment. The key is someone from the community called us back, right? They called us back and said, hey, they're back selling drugs in this. Now that's a significant step for the communities of Dallas. When our citizens feel like they can call the police, that is an important thing for our citizens to know. When this happens, that means that seeding is taking place, that trust is out there, that law enforcement wants to help and take these bad neighborhoods as outlined here and make them a better place to live. So I appreciate everybody's cooperation, and ATF is steadfast in its fight against violent crime. So thank you, and if you guys have any questions for any of us, just let us know.
Can you tell us where the house was with $1.5 million in cash?
I don't know if it's been fully unsealed, so I'll have our PIO people follow
We
up.
want to go and do exactly what you said. You're from neighbors.
Yeah.
But we need to know where to go.
So a lot of these cases are moving, and indictments will be unsealed kind of on an unrolling basis. So I'll see if that one has been, and if so, we'll have it sent to you.
So So you guys talk about the momentum of this particular operation and others since the chief has taken over. So can residents of Dallas expect, I know it's something you guys have always done, but expect more of these, maybe more momentum, more cooperation now that this one had so much success?
I absolutely believe so, and it's not just ATF and DPD, it's FBI's operations, Texas DPS. I think we're all in. We're meeting more now with the DPD partners from the chief down at every level to make sure that it's not just from the top down, right? These are efforts that are happening in every district in Dallas, and I think they're going to continue even more so. I think the U.S. Attorney's Office, with their support to aggressively prosecute, that's always a key issue, right? For the federal government is to get U.S. Attorney's offices that will prosecute everybody. Not everybody we bring, but will prosecute, with a heavy hand, because that's important. Because our agents go out there and do a lot of work, and sometimes depending upon the federal prosecutors, sometimes it's not what they want to prosecute. But I think what we have here in North Texas, all over Texas, is fantastic at really bringing the hammer down on these violent offenders. There's a significant focus on them. So there's only going to be more. I'm committed. I know my partner DeSarno and everybody's committed.
You mentioned that one of the busts involved a strip mall or something. Were guns and narcotics being sold out of one of those stores, or just like on the property of the strip mall?
Both.
And do you guys look at the property owners as tolerating that criminal activity that is happening on their property, not necessarily in their store?
So I'll let the chief talk.
What should property owners do to combat this?
Well, I'll say that's part of step 2 of our violent crime plan, which is called Place Network Investigations, and it's really strengthening the area, right? There's so much we can do as a police department to get rid of the crime that's there, but then we need to look at the outside factors. What things for environmental design can we do? Can we bring in the city attorney's office and community prosecutors to work and hold landlords and individuals responsible? So that is part of the plan. I mean, that just not only for this particular issue, but there are places in the city of Dallas where we have gone multiple times to break up drug houses, as an example. Landlords have to be held accountable for those things as well. And so that is part of our plan moving forward as well, that yes, they're going to be held accountable. They need to work with the police department so we can work with our community prosecution, our city attorney's office, to bring everything we have to bear, not only from a criminal perspective, but a civil perspective as well, to irresponsible owners.
And if property owners suspect that criminal activity is going on their property and they decide to report it to you guys, to DPD, would that be counted against them in, say, a nuisance abatement ordinance situation?
No, absolutely.
Would that be used against them to label them individual criminal property?
Well, I'll tell you this, it should not be. It certainly should not be. We want them coming forward. We want to give them help, and it should not be. And that's something that, depending on what areas we're in, we'll be a little bit more proactive too, to give owners and management companies the tools that they need in order to help us help them, and in turn help the entire neighborhood.
Thank you.
Chief, ¿me podría decir, hablaron un poquito sobre este operativo, de cómo ayudó, qué importante es el operativo?
Bien importante para nosotros. Teníamos una área aquí en la ciudad de Dallas que tenía mucho crimen violento que estaba pasando. Estamos trabajando juntos con los agentes federales que tenemos aquí, específicamente con el ATF, y en una área que sabíamos que hay muchos sospechosos que están con armas ilegalmente, que no deben tener. Y esta operación, ya agarramos 100 armas en 90 días y 47 sospechosos que lo van a estar tratando federalmente, que es bien importante para nosotros. Estas clases de operaciones que estamos haciendo nosotros es algo que va a trabajar mucho para nuestra ciudad, para bajar la violencia que está pasando en la ciudad. Con menos armas en las manos de criminales violentos, el crimen violento se va a bajar en esta ciudad.
One more in Spanish. What's the message here, Chief? ¿Cuál es el mensaje?
El mensaje aquí es que estamos trabajando juntos, que los sospechosos que están en nuestras calles, que están cometiendo crímenes violentos, que no solamente el departamento de Dallas con quien se tienen que preocupar con todos nosotros que estamos aquí hoy. Y nosotros queremos que nuestra ciudad esté fuerte, pero también el mensaje, y vamos a hacer muchas cosas para nuestra comunidad para que puedan crecer mejor, pero el mensaje a los sospechosos que están cometiendo crímenes violentos en nuestra ciudad, estamos aquí, lo estamos velando y los vamos a agarrar. Yes.
Chief, I might ask one more thing. Pat, you've said some of this before, but perhaps you could talk about the force multiplier effect of having all these other folks. You know, your force isn't maybe as big as you would like it to be, but with these other folks doing things, you get a bigger bang, do you?
Without a doubt. I cannot emphasize this enough. I've never seen collaboration like this. I've been a cop for a very long time, and again, 2 states, 2 different agencies, I've not seen this collaboration, this cooperation. And I tell you, it's an unbelievable force multiplier. When everyone errs on the side of yes, what can we do to help? I think we all get to meetings going, okay, not thinking of ways of not to do it, but thinking of ways to do it. You know, the force multiplier, not only from a staffing perspective and detectives, but intelligence and the sharing that we're doing is absolutely invaluable. It's communication that needs to occur if an agency truly wants to solve long-lasting violent crime. We need to bring all the federal partners to bear.
And they can do things that cross state lines, because some of these things do, is that right? The guns and the drugs, they come from different places, is that right?
Well, they absolutely do, but I mean, I think Jeff could probably speak more to that, but they absolutely do. They do a lot. They do, obviously, the NIBIN is huge for us. Be able to track and trace and figure out with the amount of shootings that we have in the city and figure out where rounds are, what gun are responsible for what is gold in it by itself. But yes, having that federal prosecution aspect and having you know, the U.S. Attorney involved in this is something that brings a whole different angle of this. This is part of our violent crime plan, is bringing all our federal partners to bear. We need it. We could not do this alone. We could not. Any agency in this country that thinks they can do that alone is kidding themselves if they're not bringing in and working with their federal partners. Kidding themselves.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.